Hey guys, welcome to Cash Game Cornerstones for MLB May 11th, Volume 2, the late slate. I'm Steve Repsold, this is Slurv. So we got just a ton of pitching options on the late slate. I don't mind if you like some other ones other than this. I'm saying these are not the only options that I like even, but I think the best options, and it varies a bit by site today too. The pricing is getting really weird and split. We got Max Scherzer against Detroit. Washington pitchers have had a mixed bag of results versus Detroit. But I like Scherzer's chances here, especially on FanDuel, where he's only 9.1. He's 11.3 on DK. Like I said, just a ridiculous price difference there. I don't really see the situation in which I don't play him in cash on the late slate on FanDuel. On DK, I like him too. There's kind of not other guys in his league that aren't priced like that on DK, unlike on FanDuel. Another guy that I like is Thor, Noah Syndergaard, going against the Dodgers, who've also had kind of a mixed bag of being really good targets and not so good targets. But Thor is a really, really good pitcher, so I think he's a good guy to target here. He's about the same on both sites, 11.5 on DK, 11.0 on FanDuel. I think he makes probably for a nice contrarian play on FanDuel at that price. Kind of like Scherzer might on DK, honestly. But I would go with one of those two guys, and then I like pairing him up with Chen. Chen did not have such a great outing last time out, and picking on Milwaukee did not work out for me last night with Adam Conley, but I still like his chances tonight. Milwaukee's striking out at almost a 30%, actually a little over 30% rate against left-handers. I'm pretty sure it's that, if I got it backwards, but whatever it is, they're striking out at 30%. He's only 7.8 on DK, same 7.8 on FanDuel, but I wouldn't dip down there for my cash games on FanDuel. But I think he makes a very solid SP2 to go along with either Scherzer or Thor as you see fit. The bats today in general kind of vary by site, really. On DraftKings, Cincinnati is very underpriced. On FanDuel, Boston, Pittsburgh, and the Royals are underpriced. So you'll see these teams come up a lot in my picks today. At catcher, we'll start with Cincinnati. Barnhart going up against Nicasio. I feel like I've made this recommendation like 2 or 3 times this week with games getting rained out already. But he's bare minimum 2.0 on DK. I like punting catcher because there's often not a lot of good options there. He's 2.2 on FanDuel, so not a whole lot more there. Brian McCann, not James McCann. He gets Yordano Ventura, who just absolutely got blown up in his last start, but he is still kind of a capable pitcher, not an ace, but not a dud either. But McCann's only 3.5 on DK and 3.2 on FanDuel. It's a fair price on both sites for the kind of upside McCann will bring to your lineup. And then I also, particularly on both sites, but particularly on FanDuel, I like Salvador Perez. He's been a little bit cold, but he's got a lot of power, a lot of upside, going up against Michael Pineda that you may have mixed opinions on. Some of the Slurve guys are Pineda truthers. I'm not a huge fan. I don't see a problem in the matchup there. Perez is 3.2 on DK, 2.6 on FanDuel. I think on FanDuel especially, he offers kind of a nice middle point there between Barnhart and McCann that still has the upside. Justin Bour, you kill me, man, but I'm going back to the well. The guy's peripheral stats are really good. He just has been getting kind of unlucky, but Anderson on Milwaukee is not a pitcher to be feared by any means. Bour is still only 3.4 on DK and 3.2 on FanDuel, so very cheap. You're giving up that first base slot, but Bohr is a guy with a lot of power who definitely has double dong upside to him. But also, especially on FanDuel, actually almost only on FanDuel, there's a lot of kind of site-specific stuff today. Kendrys Morales going up against Pineda. 3.2 on DK, but he's only 2.1 on FanDuel. If you need to save some money, I think that's a really good place to do it. Vegas doesn't have the Royals for a lot of runs today, but they didn't yesterday either. And, Lorenzo Cain went and triple-donged. Got him on my season-long team. Yeah, didn't have him on any of my DFS teams. But anyway, I think there's more runs to be had on Kansas City than Vegas does right now. But, full disclosure, Vegas has a better record than me. But, yeah, 2.1 on DK or on FanDuel, just a bargain basement price. Bargain on DK is Joey Votto going up against Nicasio, who struggles with lefties and, sometimes struggles with righties too. And he's 4.0 on DK, he's 3.9 on FanDuel, much less attractive price there given the different salary caps. But FanDuel has us covered with attractive, cheap plays like Hanley Ramirez, who had a great big home run yesterday, and I think 2 singles to go along with that. Big game. DraftKings, and the Red Sox the past 2 games, I think, have scored like a combined 25 runs or something like that. Like a lot. A lot of runs. And they've been kind of hot before that, too. Going up against Eric Surkamp, who is nothing of an imposing pitcher. You may not even have heard of his name before. So Hanley is kind of appropriately priced, in my opinion, at 4.7 on DK, maybe even a little overpriced there. It's only 3.7 on FanDuel, so if you kind of want that pay up at FanDuel, at first base for FanDuel, Hanley is a great way to go about it. Second base, I'm going to start with a guy named Hernan Perez. I've mentioned him a couple times because he's been really at the top of my Dong Finder model. Can't mention that without snickering. There's also Dong Finder T-shirts in the Slurve store, by the way. You should definitely get over there and order one. I already did. Such a 12-year-old sometimes. Sorry. Back to my analysis. So a couple games ago, he had a home run. I played him again last night, and no home run, but he had 2 stolen bases and a couple of hits and a couple of walks. The guy is 2,300 on DK. On FanDuel, he's a third baseman, which makes him a lot less attractive. But in the last 5 games, he's got 5 hits, 3 walks, 2 home runs, and 2 stolen bases. For 2,300, if you're not playing Chen, then I definitely recommend him. Although I also recommend playing Chen, so take that for what you will. But if you're not playing Chen, he is definitely a guy to consider at second base. And then FanDuel handing us another bargain. This guy's price has just been dropping with the games getting postponed, which makes no sense whatsoever. Brandon Phillips has been hitting so hot lately, and it's possible that people have forgotten about him because it's been a quiet couple games and then a couple of postponements in there. So I really like that. He's 2.8 on FanDuel. I didn't even write down what he is on DK because it was too expensive for me. Oh, no, I did. Never mind. 3.5. It's not out of consideration entirely, but I don't like him much at that price. If you want to pay up at second base, then Daniel Murphy is a great place to look. He has been hitting the ball really hard, just smacking the shit out of it. Zimmerman is not a pitcher I'd love to target, but he's also not, a Mad Bum or a Scherzer or a Thor. So Murphy is definitely in play at 4.5 on DK and 4.0 on FanDuel. It's definitely paying up. There's not a whole lot of love on DK at second base, so I don't mind paying up there. Also worth a mention, he kind of was also a letdown yesterday, but maybe that'll keep some people off him, same as Bohr, was Derek Dietrich. Like I mentioned, Anderson is a bad pitcher. Derek Dietrich's been doing pretty well. If he's at the top of the lineup, I really like that. 3.4 on DK and 3.4 on FanDuel, so much more attractive price on DK. Which, yeah, I mean, you kind of, there, you can either go Hernan Perez really cheap, you can go Dietrich kind of middle ground, you can go Murphy top of the line, and then any of those are serviceable on FanDuel, plus Brandon Phillips is just a great value. Third base, particularly on DK and a little bit unusually, is a really bad position today. Not a lot that I like there. Actually, Dietrich and Hernan Perez are both second and third base eligible. I might suggest you consider one of them at third base, which I don't usually, since second is usually so much weaker. But today is really just not good value. Anybody that I like is priced up way too highly on DK. But here's a couple of guys to consider, especially on FanDuel. David Freese, if he's leading off again, is even better. But I mean, if he's hitting third, it's not bad. I hate recommending David Freese because he's not really all that good at baseball, in my opinion. But Alfredo Simon is also not good at baseball, so that's a good thing. He's 3.8 on DK, which is way more than I like to pay for him. He's only 2.5 on FanDuel. That seems like a very fair David Freese price to me. I like him a lot there, but I also like his teammate Kang, who has just been killing it a bit since he's come back from the DL. It's 3.9 on DK, so a bit more expensive, and 3.0 on FanDuel. Just great value on FanDuel, like most of Pittsburgh is. And then the guy that I really like, I liked him yesterday, and I like him again today, Travis Shaw. Yesterday I was a little more hesitant to recommend him, but he came through and held out his kind of reverse splits numbers against the lefties. Got another lefties going up against today. 4.3 on DK, so it's definitely the pay up spot if you're going with him. He's 3.1 on FanDuel though, so only a little bit more than Kang. Just another guy that's way too underpriced. Most of Boston is underpriced. And on that note, my favorite FanDuel shortstop play, Xander Bogaerts, 4.9 on DK, only 4.1 on FanDuel. Still on the pricier side on FanDuel, but cheap for what the Red Sox have been doing and the potential today. Really like him. Plus, I don't really like too many of the other options. If you're not playing Chen again, I do like on DK, Jonathan VR, 3.0. That's really nice price, even if you are playing Chen, because you don't need very much out of VR to make value at that price, but two, he stole 2 bases yesterday, so if he gets a walk and steals a base, I mean, there you go. That was a good investment for your cash game, and there's just not that much to like at shortstop. Zach Cozart, going back to the Cincinnati game, is underpriced on DK at 3.7. Oh yeah, VR's 3.4 on FanDuel, which puts him out of consideration for me. Same with Cozart at 3.7 on FanDuel. Would much rather pay up $400 and go with Bogey. And that's it. You might, if on DK, if there are other multi-position guys that fit in at short, you might consider them too. FanDuel has what, in my opinion, are batshit insane prices on their outfielders today, especially in Pittsburgh. Both Polanco and Starling Marte are very much in play. Polanco is 4.9 on DK, but only 3.4 on FanDuel. Massive difference. Similar for Marte, 5.3 on DK, 4.1 on FanDuel. I love both of them against Alfredo Simon. Crappy pitcher. The huge difference in salary should tell you something, and in my experience, DraftKings sets much more accurate salaries than FanDuel does, so I like that a lot. On the flip side of things, on the other side of that same field, actually, Duvall and Bruce, both versus Nicasio, I like them on DK. 3.1 for Duvall, 3.4 for Bruce. If you're only picking one, I'd probably give the nod to Bruce at that price. On FanDuel, they're 3.3 and 3.4 respectively. Not really interested there. Would much rather, 3.4, I'd much rather go Polanco. And then stop giving these players away, FanDuel. Chris Young also had a really nice game yesterday. Also part of this really hot Red Sox team. Check that he makes the lineup, but he's a platoon guy, but he typically gets in the lineup against lefties. 3.5 on DK, which I still like him there. Fair minimum 2.0 on FanDuel. Shame on you, FanDuel. Price better. And not quite as badly priced, but still a bargain on FanDuel. Carlos Beltran going up against Ventura, as I mentioned. Not the best matchup, but far from the worst. 2.6 on FanDuel. Love him there. 3.5 on DraftKings. Still like him, but he's not like the crazy value that he is on FanDuel. And then also Mookie had a homer monster game yesterday. I imagine, will be leading off the Red Sox again today against another bad pitcher. 5.1 on DK, 4.1 on FanDuel. Just bargain, bargain, bargain. I like him on both sides. The Red Sox are just going crazy. But just to general recap, Cincinnati very underpriced on DK. Boston, Pittsburgh, and the Royals all underpriced on FanDuel. Those are my general guidelines, and you just got all the specific plays. I'm Steve. This is Slurv. It's been Cash Game Cornerstones Part 2 for May 11th, the late slate. Good luck, guys. Come by the Slurv chat room, ask questions, give me your advice, and let us know how you do tonight.